you're watching today here on ENCA. I just want to apologize for the break we had in transmission a short while ago while I was in the middle of an interview. But those technical problems are being resolved as we speak. We're glad to be back with you now. And let's focus here on today on this story now. The High Court in Cape Town has given the city 7 days to evict refugees who have been living in the Central Methodist Mission Church. The refugees have been camping in the church for several months, wanting to be relocated to other countries. Well, joining me now in the studio to discuss this latest development and how it can be handled in the interest of everybody involved is the chairperson of the African Diaspora Forum, Vusi Sibanda. Mrs. Sibanda, good morning. Thank you very much for your time and your patience while we're sorting out our technical problems. This is a serious situation. Now the court has made a decision. It's likely that the law enforcement agencies, for instance, in Cape Town, in implementing or executing the court order, will begin to act. And there are children as well who are involved in there. What's your response to this latest development?
Well, I think to start with, we need to look at what are the implications of the court order. The court order specifically, allows the city of Cape Town to enforce its bylaws, which is particularly that people should not be living, on the pavements, by the roadside and making fires. It does not say that, the city must then go, for example, into the church premises and evict, the refugees and asylum seekers.
As long as the church is welcoming them,
yes,
the city can't get involved inside the yard.
Definitely.
But once the people continue on the pavement, in enforcing the bylaws, then the city has every right to do so.
Definitely it has. It is by law. And in any case, we know that there is no country that doesn't have laws. Pavements, if it's your house at home, if you start erecting some structures on the pavement, you will get the city coming and starting to say, but look here, you are violating, this is not your space, this is our space. So the pavements are therefore, definitely.
So, but the likelihood of which I'm just considering how this thing has been playing itself out. We've also seen some violences among the refugees themselves. We've seen in the past the police trying to move in and there was resistance. There's been incidents of violence. Aren't you concerned that it might play themselves out when they're trying to enforce the bylaws to remove those who are on the pavements?
Well, look, it is very likely, obviously, because we have seen that some people might actually sit there. Sometimes it's basically because of maybe the lack of understanding. It could be communication and knowledge. It could also be because, we have heard that, we know there are groupings. It could be, because we've got people that are misleading other people in the process, because like we have heard, constantly from the onset that, some people are claiming that some other people are promising people that, an aeroplane will be brought in to fly people to Canada. So if there are people that have been brainwashed to that particular extent, those people could just think that, they could stay in there. But we're not saying it is there, but what we're saying is that particular aspect is such that people would understand that there are laws and laws.
So your forum, what can you do? You've been involved with this, one of the stakeholders involved with trying finding a resolution and assisting as a diaspora forum. What can be done to ensure that the enforcement of the bylaws, now that the court has ruled, are done in the proper way and that nobody is misinformed?
I think just last week, we have been speaking again with the South African Human Rights Commission. It was only because of the attacks that took place on Commissioner Nissen and the bishop that, just slowed our pace on that particular aspect. But our views are that if you listen to the interview that we had the other day, the other leader was saying, but yeah, if there is a space. So it sounds like now we've gotten to a point where there might be a convergence. There is a likelihood that a solution, an amicable solution, can be found. So we are pushing now. We've actually been trying to see if we can speak to various stakeholders so that we can go and have a meeting within the 7 days and try and bring, an understanding, a conciliatory tone, because it does look like some people now in the group are willing to consider, settlement, because the issue has been that to relocate people is not in the purview of the South African government. The South African government's responsibility is to say, you are running away from your country, you have a problem, we can accommodate you because our laws permit that. But if somebody says all of a sudden, look, I can't stay in South Africa, it is no longer the purview of the South African government, that can be taken with the UNHCR. So lines have been blurred in the process, because, what UNHCR should do and, the South African government has been mixed.
Okay, so you've got less than a week to try and find that amicable solution to move those people from the pavements. And you said one of the leaders saying if we can find a space. Is it the understanding that they expect to be relocated elsewhere? inside Cape Town or in South Africa?
Well, that's not completely what I can say is the understanding, because when we heard Jean, what he's saying, he's also standing, on a point that, look, it's unlikely. We need, this is human rights abuse. Look, to say people should move from the pavement is not any human right violation. In any case, it is to violate the rights of other people that need to walk on the pavements or to make fires there. So we need to be cognizant of other people's rights. So I think what we need now is a sober sitting down and really to say, guys, people need to understand what the law provides.
Yeah, but I'm trying to understand now, as you're talking to me, would they be open to a settlement from what you're saying, as there's a new conciliatory tone in finding a solution, a settlement where they have to move off the pavement and go elsewhere? Is that the understanding, like those who are inside the church will remain there, those who are on the pavement must find another church, for example, or another location? Is that the understanding?
I believe that, especially taking from what the other leader was basically saying, I think we are at that particular stage, because it was basically his words were showing that, okay, they are willing to go if, there is, a negotiation. He put some conditions. I think he listed about 4 issues that says, okay, if these 4 issues are met, and I think the issues that were real identified are not issues that, even if not properly crafted, that are impossible to be dealing with.
What would be the long-term solution here? Because we understand, after the scenes we've seen inside the church, that the Methodist Church is also not keen to keep. It can't be a permanent solution.
No, definitely it is not. I think the long-term solution is basically, because some of the people are talking about camps. And look, South Africa has moved basically, many inches away from the camps, proposal, because it doesn't allow a person to live a life that is free and that is progressive, especially if held in a camp. And we cannot be, growing backwards to try and say, let's go back to the camp. The idea is basically to say, we need to have, laws, for example, to talk about, ordinary, if there are attacks, how people are going to be dealt with, how issues are going to be dealt with. But the long-term solution for people that are refugees and asylum seekers that are in South Africa is to be reintegrated, obviously, in society, and to get, society to understand, that, okay, if there are issues, how are these issues to be resolved, rather than for people to basically, fight amongst themselves.
Okay, Mr. Banda, thank you very much for your time. Good luck in finding a solution to this.